I lived in Newark, New Jersey when Hoover was running for president and Roosevelt beat him. We kids ran around the neighborhood yelling, "Hoover, Hoover is a pain. Put him in the toilet and pull the chain." When I went to Ohio State, I was in a dormitory before the war started, and all the girls were sitting around, and we said, "How many of us have brothers?" And none of us raised our hand, because if you had a brother, he got sent to college. I can remember being the only girl in my calculus class, and when I walked in, Dr. Rotto, I said, and he said, "Yes," he said, "No girls in this class." I said to him that this was a state university, Ohio State. Women pay taxes, and if you're a teacher here, I think you should have me in your class. And he didn't like that very much, and so I attacked. I found that was a very useful way of winning arguments. I said, "Do you know enough to teach me how to do calculus?" And he blew up. "I, a man with 5 degrees from Heidelberg and Leipzig." And he backed away. He said, "All right, but I would never give a woman more than a C in calculus." So I got all A's for my 3/4, and he gave me a C. And when the women who were astronauts had a story in the newspaper, "How come more women don't go into science?" I said, "Dr. Rotto became head of the math department at Ohio State. Every woman who ever went to college had to fight a battle."
At the present time, it is of paramount importance that the women and girls of our country be given training so that they may do their share in the war emergency.
It's very important to understand that Eleanor Roosevelt was a profound influence, not just on my life, but on all women. First of all, very few women were quoted in newspapers or spoke in public. And when the president would send her to go to the mines, you know, people would make fun of her and tell dirty jokes about her. But, I mean, she'd be there with a light on her head and listening to these people who worked under the ground and the hardships they faced. It made us feel that she was brave enough to do all sorts of things. No, it's true. It's very hard to imagine. You know, a brave person acts as a beacon light for others. And that's why it's important to be calm and brave if you feel that you have a point to be made, because it's inspiring. I can't tell you the number of injustices and marches that I've been on in my life, because I can't remember them all. But that doesn't mean anything. We brush our teeth every day. We don't look and see what we brushed away. And besides which, there are times when you have to speak up even when it doesn't get you anywhere. It's just a matter of self-respect. In my life, I've never been discouraged by having laws passed that seem retrogressive to me, or things happen that shouldn't be the way I wanted them. I mean, Trump is really something else, but it's more of the same. There's nothing to be said except that the women, with their march on Washington, did more to solidify the resistance in this country than anything that has happened in many years. I'm very pleased with the way things are working, and so mad that I can't get out and walk too. We were very upset in our neighborhood because there were some votes for Hoover, and the question was, who were the 3 people who voted for Hoover? And my mother and her friends spent many an afternoon discussing it.